Ethan James, released from prison 2 years later, boarded a passenger coach bound for New York and headed straight for the Goldmark Superstore as planned. It was the city's most modern and spacious store. He entered and walked toward the cosmetics section. He fully expected to find Natalie there. At that moment, a woman dressed in a uniform approached him and asked, "What do you want?" "A burgundy lipstick and," he said, pausing for a moment to look at the other items on the shelves before speaking. "Does Mrs. Natalie Adams work here?" "Yes, tell me." "I am Natalie Adams." He looked at her in shock. He remembered that Adams used to mention his wife every night. According to him, his wife Natalie was a tall, fair, and beautiful woman, to the point that he often compared her to a famous Hollywood actress, saying that she was just as beautiful, charming, and young. She was not only tall, but also beautiful and youthful. No bad luck had ever touched her, and yes, as far as love was concerned, after that, Adams's praise became very mysterious. He turned the pages of his memories, opened the layers of the past, but he could not find any mention of any woman who resembled the one standing in front of him. The saleswoman was tall, but apart from that, she had no resemblance to this description. She was overweight, ungainly, and unattractive. Perhaps the separation from Adams, or her wrongdoings and anger, had made Natalie like this. He saw that the woman had light brown hair and was wearing thick-framed glasses, from behind which her dull eyes were staring at him. "Excuse me." Ethan found her staring at him. "The Natalie Adams I'm talking about, she lived in Times Square. She's Adams's wife." While saying this, there was a slight nervousness in his tone and a trace of worry on his face. Natalie blinked and spoke. "It's me, Natalie. Tell me, what do you want to say?" "I've brought a message from your husband." "My husband? He's dead." "I know. I was with him a few minutes before his death. My name is Ethan James. We both lived in the same prison cell for 2 years." He saw that there was no difference in the expressions on Natalie's face. "What message have you brought?" she said in the same tone as before. "I can't tell you this here." "Tell me, what time do you get off work?" "At 7:30. "Okay, I'll meet you at the gate." She hesitated a bit, then said, "I'll meet you at the turn across the road. There's a public park there." Ethan nodded in agreement and then quickly walked out. Considering what Adams had told him about his wife Natalie, he had other ideas. He had thought that he would talk to Adams's beautiful widow about his hidden wealth and make a splash by marrying her. But he was sad that his plan had now been ruined. He had no desire to get this fat, foolish woman. Ethan kept thinking that Adams had been lying about his wife for 2 years, and then suddenly everything made sense to him. Surely Adams had planted a beautiful imaginary picture in his mind of some perfect lover whom he could never marry. Still, Ethan hoped that Adams's story of $1.5 million would be true. But he had thought that he would talk to his widow Natalie in a way that would not frighten her. When Natalie met him in the public park, it was dark, and this was good for Ethan James, because no one could see them together in the darkness. Both were sitting on a bench. "Adams had told me a lot about you," she began to say in a low voice. "He had written a lot about you too in his letters." She also spoke in the same tone. "He thought you were a very good friend of his." "I'm very happy about this. My thoughts about Adams are also very good. In fact, a person like him should not have been imprisoned in that cell. He had the same thought about you too." Natalie took a breath. "We were both caught by misfortune. I didn't know anything about him. I was surrounded by financial problems in those days. I didn't have a penny to eat. I also worked with Adams in the same factory. The whole mess started with a briefcase, which he had snatched from Andrew Shaw, who was the cashier of the office. It contained a huge amount of salary, about $1.5 million. Since I was Adams's close friend, I was also handed over to the police on suspicion. There was no one behind me. The owner of the factory was an influential man, so I was also sentenced to 2 years. Adams had written about this. You were also treated very badly. Similar treatment was done to him too." Ethan's tone softened, which according to him was necessary to make this drama successful. He continued, That poor man was also a very straightforward man, while Andrew Shaw was also his friend. He didn't want to kill him, but anything can happen in such matters. Many bitter sips have to be taken. Well, Adams disposed of the body of his office cashier in such a way that the police could not recover it. It was not an easy task. Andrew Shaw's body has not been found yet, right? Why are you waiting? He also asked cleverly while saying this. It's better not to mention these incidents, she said softly. I know you must be suffering from the memory of them. Speaking with great care, she took Natalie's hand in hers. Natalie's thick palm was soaked with sweat. She didn't try to free her hand. She was holding Natalie's hand in Ethan's hand like a piece of meat. Ethan said again, It seemed from the circumstances that Adams had been trapped. Natalie said, However, that afternoon, Adams had also given Andrew Shaw a lift in his car. Andrew was returning from the bank with the salary money of the office employees. His own car had broken down on the way, and Adams happened to pass by. Andrew had come in his car. That was all the information that was enough for the police. The blood on Adams's clothes had not even been washed off before the police came and arrested him. He had no proof of his escape. I told them many times that he had stayed at home all day, but no one listened to me, and he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He never told me where he had buried Andrew Shaw's body, nor where he had hidden the money. Even in the darkness, Ethan saw that Natalie had nodded in affirmation. You're right. I think the police had beaten Adams a lot, but he didn't tell them about these things. Ethan was silent for a moment, then lit a cigarette, took a deep drag and said, Did he never tell you these things? What do you think? She said in a muffled voice. I had to leave my apartment because of these things, and the infamy. Everyone used to taunt me for being the wife of a criminal and a murderer. For the past 2 years I have been working at this superstore, and I've done it with great difficulty. Looking at all these things, do you think I don't know anything about this? I am going through such a situation that I can neither cry nor laugh. Ethan quickly threw away the half-lit cigarette. The red tip of the cigarette glowed in the darkness for a long time. He looked in that direction and now came to the point. Okay, Natalie, if you get that money, what will you do with it? Will you hand it over to the police? Natalie cleared her throat, then said, Why? Is it because the police tortured my husband to death in jail? Should I thank them by giving them that money? I was informed that he died of a severe attack of pneumonia, but I know what pneumonia and the environment of those prisons are like. Her voice began to fill. The prison doctor used to say, Adams has influenza. I made a lot of noise about it, and they picked him up and took him to the sick room, Ethan said. I will say that the prison people killed him. Adams paid the price for his crime with his life. I am now his widow. Now, even if that wealth is found, it will all be mine. Say ours, ours. When Ethan said this, the fingers of Natalie in his hand tightened. He felt her nails digging into his palm. Then she spoke slowly. Did Adams tell you where he hid that wealth? Yes, he did. Ethan spoke in a deliberately muffled tone. When they started taking him from the cell, his condition was very critical. In that state, he couldn't talk much, but I got some clues. I thought that after being released from jail, I would be able to find out about this hidden wealth by meeting you. He had told me that it was a huge amount, $1.5 million. Even if we cut it in half, $750,000 wouldn't be a small amount. If you know where that money is, why are you talking in such hints? Why don't you just say it out loud? Natalie said, slightly annoyed. Ethan clarified and said, I need your help to understand the clue I got. Then we will search for this money together. I am a stranger here. If I start running around for this money, people will doubt me. But if you help me, there will be no room for suspicion. And it's also possible that we'll find this money soon. Well, the matter of half and half is certain, isn't it? Natalie thought for a moment. The burning piece of cigarette was still shining like a spark buried in the ashes. She looked at Ethan and said, What is certain? You know how deep the rift was between Adams and me. He used to mention you all the time. After a few days, I started feeling like I knew you as well as he did. I want to know and understand you even more closely." Ethan's tone was soft. Natalie's nails felt like they were digging into his palm again. This time, he also gently pressed Natalie's hand, then said, "Natalie, I don't know what kind of man you think I am, but I've been imprisoned for 2 years, in a prison cell. Can you imagine what it's like for a man to be away from the closeness of a woman for 2 years? I have also spent 2 years completely alone. When will I meet you again? I mean, if," Ethan said, his tone filled with loving softness. "You come with me. When the amount is half and half, then why should there be any distance?" Ethan felt his heart jumping with joy. What he wanted to say, Natalie herself gave the plan its final shape. "You thought absolutely right. I'm ready," he said immediately. Both of them stood up. They boarded a bus and reached the apartment. Natalie lived there alone. It was a small 2-room flat, part of a housing project that was years old. Both of them were tired. Natalie fell asleep on the bed and Ethan spread a sheet on the floor and lay down. His heart was beating fast. Everything was happening according to his plan, though he guessed it was happening a little too quickly. That's how it is when fate is kind. The paths begin to open easily. He had already guessed one thing, that Natalie had not yet received that wealth. Otherwise, why would she be living in this small, worn-out, shabby flat? However, he still decided not to act hastily, because last time he had thought he would leave through the back door with a suitcase full of cash. But, contrary to expectations, a police officer had been waiting there, and he was caught. Then, by developing a friendship with Adams in jail, he had learned many things. He had come to know the address of Adams's wife. Before coming to prison, Adams had hidden the amount of $1.5 million somewhere, but he had never told Ethan where that money was. Then Adams fell ill, and Ethan got the golden opportunity to press him for the secret of the hidden treasure. But Adams was not ready to tell him. Ethan tried to strangle him, but perhaps he was too hasty, because just then the guard came, and Ethan released Adams as soon as he heard the footsteps. After that, Adams was taken to the prison hospital. Ethan was afraid that if Adams regained consciousness, he might tell the police about the attack. But Adams died that same night, and the prison doctor reported that he had died of pneumonia. Ethan had survived. That's why he was making this plan, and so far it had been successful. After being released from jail, he had reached New York on the first bus. Now he badly needed Natalie's help. She had become a shield for him. But what Adams had told him about her, that she was as beautiful as a doll, had turned out to be wrong. Why? He thought about it. Still, he badly needed Natalie's help, and he had already gotten close enough that he was in her flat now, calmly contemplating his future plan. "Are you awake?" Natalie suddenly asked. He shivered and said, "Yes. I think we should make a plan for the future." "Of course. I like smart women like you," he said, forcing a smile. "You're right. The sooner the work is started, the better." He understood that she was as anxious as he was to learn about acquiring such a huge amount. In a way, that was good for his plan. Adams definitely told me before he died that the money was still with Andrew Shaw. I mean with him, or with his body. So, until the police find the body, the money cannot be in their hands either. Natalie listened silently, then inquired, "That's all Adams told you? What else do you want?" "Everything is clear. The money is hidden somewhere near Andrew's body." Natalie got up and sat on the mattress near the cross and spoke. "The police have been searching for Andrew's body for 2 years, but haven't succeeded yet." Then, after a long pause, she added, "I thought you would know something special, but you don't. Well, tell me, where have the police searched for the body so far?" "The rented house we were living in back then was searched first. But even after going through it once, the police weren't satisfied. 3 days later, they surrounded it again, and this time every cupboard and board was torn down. After that, the police spent a month searching for the body. Andrew was an unmarried young man. His flat was in the city center. I'd heard that he had a large plot on the coastal area of the city, property he had either bought or inherited from his late father. He used to go there hunting with friends, and had built a small hut-like house on that land. That too was searched, but no significant results were found. Ethan remained silent for a few seconds, lost in thought, then said, "How long after Adams had put Andrew Shaw in his car did he return home?" "About 3 hours later." This shows that he didn't get a chance to go far. Surely he must have hidden Andrew Shaw's body somewhere nearby. Then after a pause he said, "Okay, tell me honestly, was Andrew really friends with Adams?" "Yes," Natalie replied. "I always saw a deep connection between them. They were like a bowl and a cup. They had no special interests. You must have taken me for granted." "They were mostly fishermen," Nicole said. "They both used to go to the semi-coastal area where Andrew Shaw's late father had a plot. I had also gone there with Adam once or twice. I liked the place because of the open air, but I had no interest in fishing." "That area, I think, would be 40 to 50 kilometers to the west," Kevin said, pursing his lips and thinking about something. "I told you that the police have searched there. I meant that there must be a shady boathouse there," Kevin explained. "Andrew Shaw was not a wealthy man," Nicole said. "Whenever they went there for hunting, they would take a boat on rent." She took a deep breath for some reason, as if she was getting tired of this topic. Kevin nervously lit a cigarette and then said, "Look, Nicole, if you want to get the $1.5 million, you have to solve this mystery. Remember the events of the day Andrew Shaw was killed. Maybe you are still forgetting something." "I was at home, so I don't know what happened. Adam had a day off that day, and he was out for a walk. Did he say anything before he left? Did he look nervous?" "No, I don't think he had any plan in advance. Suddenly, when Andrew was sitting in the car with his money, he must have had a plan in mind right then. But people thought that Adam had already made a plan because due to their deep friendship, he knew that Andrew would withdraw the salaries of all his office employees from the bank that day." Kevin shook his head. "Adam returned alone in the car. What did he say to you?" "He didn't say anything special." "Where was the time?" "The police had arrived just 2 minutes after he came back." "So quickly," Kevin was surprised. "Who informed the police so fast?" "When Andrew did not return for a long time, Samuel Jones, the owner of the factory, got worried and called the bank. The cashier and the watchman were questioned. The watchman said that Andrew had left his caravan and gone in his friend's car, which is why the police had come here in search of him." "When Adam returned, was he covered in dust?" Kevin asked. "No, only his hands were a bit dirty. Nothing was found in the house that the police could use to find out anything. However, his shoes were muddy, and his personal pistol was also missing, which was objected to a lot. If he had not taken the pistol, he might have survived. He kept saying that his pistol had been missing for the past several months, but no one believed him." "Well, anything special?" Kevin asked. "Yes," Nicole said quietly. "When he returned, his hand was injured. When I saw the wound and asked about it, he said something about rats, but in court, he had said that his hand was injured when the car window was broken. He had also said that the blood found dripping on the car seat was from his injured hand. Upon examination, the car window was indeed found broken, but medical reports showed that the blood was not his. It matched Andrew's blood." "By the way, Adam did not tell you the truth," Kevin said slowly. "All he told you was that he had been bitten by a rat. He must have said something about rats that I couldn't hear properly. At that time, I was putting out the fire on the stove in the kitchen. In court, the doctor who examined him after his arrest had stated that he had injured his hand with a blade. The police had also found that blade in the bathroom, and there was blood on it." "Wait a minute," Kevin said, controlling his mental agitation. "Adam told you something about rats, then went to the bathroom, where he injured his finger a little more with the blade. Now the confusion is getting resolved. Don't you understand?" Kevin's face gradually started to turn red with the hope of success, but Nicole kept staring at him in an incomprehensible manner. He continued speaking with the same enthusiasm. "A rat bit Adam's finger, maybe at that time when he was trying to hide Andrew's body. But he didn't tell the police this. Why? Because if the police had known, they would have probably found the body. They would have searched such places where rats are more common. To keep this a secret, he had further injured his finger with the blade so that no one could identify him. It could be, Nicole said thoughtfully. But what good would that information do us? Should we search for the body in all the places near this western coastal area where rats are common? No, Kevin shook his head. You just told me that Adam and Andrew used to rent boats. From whom did they rent boats? And where did they park the boat, do you know? In a boathouse. The one who owns the boathouse, was he there that day? No, that boat belonged to a local landowner and he also had the boathouse. He died in a road accident 2 weeks before Andrew's death. Did Adam know this? He told me that. Nicole's voice rose a little. It wasn't even the season for fishing in those days. Who lives in this boathouse now? No one. The landlord, Siraki, had no heirs. The government hasn't sold this property yet. The same is the case with Andrew Shaw's property because he also had no heirs. I've started seriously considering the plan to go there, Kevin said firmly. Nicole looked at him. And you should come with me. Friendship and affection have their place, but where money is involved, things should be clear. In fact, we may not even need to divide the money because Kevin looked at her with loving eyes and deliberately left his sentence unfinished. Nicole's round face began to turn red with embarrassment. She understood his hint, though she didn't know exactly what he meant. Once the money is in hand, Kevin thought to himself, I'll arrange for her future, and the money will be all mine. He smiled, a seemingly loving smile, and then quickly said, You somehow arranged for a car. Tomorrow is my weekly leave. I'll borrow a car from a friend of mine. Good, then the problem's solved, Kevin said. It was already afternoon when they left, and they reached the semi-coastal area within an hour. A large lake spread out before them. They were careful not to come into anyone's sight. Soon they reached the old hut and stopped. The air around them was cool and eerily silent. Kevin guessed that Andrew Shaw's body couldn't possibly be inside this hut. Both of them got out of the car. I think now you'd like to walk to the boathouse, Nicole said. From here, walk to the left. I'll show you the way. Be careful, the path is slippery. It was dangerous to walk in the dark. Twilight had already fallen. But walking with a light wasn't safe either. The boathouse stood on the edge of the lake. Kevin felt the door. It was locked. You wait here, I'll take care of it, he said. He ran and brought back a pointed stone. The lock was old and rusty. After 2 or 3 strikes, it broke loose. Kevin took the flashlight from Nicole's hand, opened the door, and shone the light inside. He froze. Dozens of tiny red dots gleamed back at him, like burning cigarette butts. Within seconds, he realized what they were. Eyes. The eyes of rats. Kevin was terrified of rats. When they scattered in every direction under the beam of the flashlight, his heart nearly stopped. He threw the light toward the floor. The boards creaked under his shoes. So, the police have been here, he muttered, cursing under his breath. I told you before, Nicole said. The police have searched every possible place. Kevin moved the light around the room. The boathouse was completely empty. No boat, no signs of use. There's nothing here, Nicole said in despair. Wait. Since we've come this far, why not take a good look at the whole house? He stepped forward and directed the flashlight upward, and froze again. Look at that, Nicole, the ceiling. It's set unusually low. What's wrong with that? She asked. There might be some space between the roof and the ceiling. Yes, but... Oh, listen, Kevin whispered sharply, signaling her to be quiet. There was a rattling noise above them, faint but distinct. Rats were scurrying between the ceiling boards, scratching and dragging something. Come on, look for a ladder in the shed outside. They found a ladder in a small tin shed near the boathouse, and Nicole also picked up an iron rod lying nearby. Kevin set up the ladder while Nicole aimed the flashlight at the ceiling. Thick papers were pasted across the ceiling. Kevin jabbed at them with the iron rod, tearing them down. Beneath them were 2 or 3 plywood boards haphazardly nailed in place. A quick, panicked job. Kevin struck again. The boards cracked and fell. Rats scattered in every direction. He lifted the flashlight and shone it through the hole, and his breath caught in his throat. A black iron box lay wedged in the hollow space, and beside it, a decayed skeleton. As soon as Kevin saw it, he knew. It was Andrew Shaw's body. He reached in, pulled the box closer, and lifted the lid. His eyes widened. Inside, stacks of cash, $1.5 million. Despite the foul, suffocating odor, Kevin felt as though a sweet fragrance rose from the box itself. "Is there something there?" Nicole asked in a trembling voice. "Yes," Kevin replied. "Hold the ladder, I'll take it down." He started to descend. Now it was time for Nicole to finish her work. He was thinking and planning this. He had no idea about Nicole's plan, so as soon as he came down with the box, Nicole swung the iron hammer with all her strength and hit him on the head. The blow was so strong that he couldn't even gasp and fell to the ground, dizzy. He lay unconscious for about 15 minutes. During this time, Nicole found a rope, or perhaps she had brought it with her. However, she knew how to use it well. When Kevin regained consciousness, he found himself tied with the rope. Nicole had tied his mouth with a handkerchief. He was lying motionless on the floor, watching. Nicole opened the box and burst into laughter. The flashlight lay on the floor. In its beam, Kevin could see her face clearly. He was no longer wearing his glasses. Nicole saw him staring at her with a blank stare and smiled. "I didn't need all these things. It was all part of the drama. I had changed my hair color a little and had also deliberately gained weight so that no one would look suspicious at me. You know, sometimes a person has to be a millionaire." Kevin wanted to say something, but a handkerchief was stuffed in his mouth. Nicole was amused by his helplessness. She spoke in the same tone. "Adam didn't mind this money. The fact is that I had relations with Andrew Shaw. We had been throwing dust in Adam's eyes for about 6 months. I don't know how this news reached Adam's ears. Anyway, he became suspicious of me and started keeping a close eye on me. On the day of the incident, he had gone out with his pistol, with the intention of finishing Andrew Shaw. It is possible that he would later kill me too. Till then, he did not know anything about this money, except that he knew very well that Andrew could easily be found in the bank on salary distribution days. I think he brought Andrew here unconscious. Before reaching here and dying, Andrew regained consciousness and kept saying that he is innocent. Adam had told me this on his return, but I had not had a chance to ask him where he had disposed of Andrew Shaw's body. I was about to ask him when suddenly the police came and surrounded our house. Even after his arrest, I didn't get a chance to ask him about the money, and I didn't think he would tell me anything after learning the truth about me and Andrew. Well, now the only way for me was to wait for Adam or one of his associates to be released and get information about the hidden wealth from him. That was all my plan. Kevin tried to say something again, but he was too tightly bound, he couldn't speak. "Do you know why I attacked you?" she said again. "Because you intended to attack me. Those who are released from prison think about such things. I myself have been like a prisoner of loneliness, poverty, and circumstances. I also know that you had lied about some things to get my sympathy and show your love for me, because I knew a lot. Even from that, I had every right to doubt your intentions. Well, now I will make a plan to use this money properly, and you, on the other hand, will wait for your death. I am sure that you must have tried to make Adam laugh about the money and destroy him. Well, this is what happens in the greed for wealth. Now, you wait for your death. You are afraid of rats, aren't you?" Saying this, she turned to leave. This time, Kevin did not try to say anything, but he raised his bound legs and struck Nicole with them. She staggered and fell from the sudden attack. As soon as she fell, Kevin started to kick at her stomach with his feet. Nicole writhed in agony. Her foot hit the door, and the door slammed shut with a jolt. But Kevin kept kicking her until he was sure that she was unconscious or paralyzed. Nicole's lifeless body lay against the door. After some time, the flashlight rolled on the floor and went out, and terrible darkness took over. Then he rolled toward her and placed his face on her body. A sensation ran through him. Nicole's body had cooled down. Kevin rolled here and there and tried to reach his hands. He rubbed his wrists against the floor and tried to saw through the tied rope. Blood began flowing from his wrists, but the rope did not break. Nicole's dead body lay against the door, and the door was closed. He repeatedly banged his head and tried to move her lifeless body from the door, but all in vain. She was heavy. He rolled and struck a box filled with 1.5 million. He felt suffocated in this confinement. He kept trying, but could not get out. After a while, red pinpoints began to appear in the pitch-black darkness of the boathouse, and he shivered. The rats had returned, and they had started to tear at her body from place to place.